I hope all is well. My name is Alison, certified dating and relationship coach, and I primarily work with busy professional women to help them transition from struggling on the dating scene, not knowing what next steps to date, into healthy, happy, flourishing marriages. So every Wednesday, I do this live Q&A around 6:30 p.m. Eastern, where I take questions directly from you and relationships. So go ahead, now that I got my setup right, go ahead and let your friends know that I'm here on live. Go ahead and share this screen with them so that they can join us. So again, it's my opportunity to give back to my inner circle, you guys here on YouTube, so that I can answer your burning questions around dating and relationships. So feel free to drop your questions right in the queue, and I can answer them very simply for you. While we wait for folks to catch up, because you know that there's a delay on YouTube, and we wait for those questions to come in, let me give you guys some tea. Let me give you guys some life updates, okay? So number one, as you guys know, I shared 1,000 times that I am going to be positioning myself here on YouTube. I recognize that my reach is limited on Instagram. I want to be able to help as many busy professional women be found by the partners that they deserve, learn how to navigate dating successfully so they can get into healthy relationships, so that can move forward into healthy, fulfilling marriages, right? And so in that effort, I said, I've probably done as much as I can do with Instagram. It's time for me to refocus. It's time for me to get on YouTube, a larger platform, so that I can really have the impact I wanted to have. Ergo, the struggle bus that you guys see every week when I go live, which is I got the lighting. Oh, you know what? I could probably even go lighter because my laptop tends to just do what it wants. Oh, my laptop tends to do whatever the hell it wants to do. So I got the lighting. So it's been 3 weeks since we've been doing this live Q&A. I got the lighting. The lighting's on par. I am super happy with the lighting. The next thing is going to be this camera situation and figuring out if can I go like incognito? I don't know. Anywho, so this has been my focus. And what has that looked like for me? So for me, what that's looked like is that instead of me doing my live Q&As on Instagram, again, folks, I'm taking questions in the chat. So feel free, drop your questions in the chat. I'm here to support you. Instead of me doing all of my lives on Instagram, when people reach out and they want to do a collaborative live, I'll do it on Instagram. But for the most part, my effort, my energy is going to be poured into you guys, the subscribers. Make sure you subscribe, the subscribers here on YouTube. So that starts with, obviously, my Wednesday live Q&As. I've been doing it for years on Instagram. It's now going to be exclusively on YouTube. I'm going to be teaching you tools, tips, and tricks, as well as how there's all this content about why folks shouldn't get married. There's all dangerous marriages. There's all this content about who hates who, like who's right and who's wrong. So we on this page here at Align with Alison will be creating content around recognizing there is a problem. So I'm not a fool. You do recognize that there's a problem, but always coming up with a solution and a resolution as to how we can fix said problem. We're not going to be here just crying and complaining about what's wrong all of the time. We need to discuss what's going wrong so that we can talk about a resolution on what's right. Okay, so our first question has come in. Please do not be shy. Go ahead and drop your questions in the chat so that I can support you when it comes to dating, relationships, life, any questions that you have. Again, my name is Alison, certified dating and relationship coach. I primarily work with busy professional women to help them be found by the partners that they deserve. I do this live Q&A every Wednesday around 6:30 p.m. So question is, hi, I don't want children. Do you think that makes the pool smaller? When should I have the conversation when dating? That is an excellent question. So let's talk about it. Number one, I know that you don't want children, and this is a very important differentiation. You don't want children. However, are you willing to date men who have children, and how old are you? Why do I make that distinction? If you're willing to date men who have children, however, you don't desire to have any, I don't think that your pool is significantly negatively impacted, right? There are plenty of gentlemen who, once they have their own children, either way, they won't care if they add or subtract. Some are passionate about not adding, but many times you won't find guys as passionate about being parents or having more children as you will women. So if you are willing to date men who have children and your caveat is, I don't want any, I would not be concerned about your dating pool being so small that you wouldn't be successful in your dating process. But if you tell me that you don't want children, nor do you want to date men who have children, and you are 35 plus, I will tell you that that will significantly diminish your pool. I can't lie to you, right? And I'm also not going to lie and tell you that I know the stats off the top of my head. But if we're looking at the amount of men who have children who are plus 35, and you're not willing to date men with children, and also not wanting any yourself, because many of them may have held off. They don't have children, but they want some, right? When the time is right with the right woman. So if those two you're combining, plus 35 and not dating men who have children either, then you are significantly decreasing your pool. Now, that does not mean that you should change your mind. I'm not telling you that you should change your mind at all. But what I'm saying is, as you already have theorized, that it does reduce your pool. So what does that mean? So again, remember, on this page, we're not only talking about the problem, but we're also talking about the resolution. So what does this mean for you? This means for you that you need to be more steadfast than the average woman when it comes to your efforts in dating and relationships. I always tell women, because they're under this belief many times, that all they have to do is sit back and look pretty in a corner, right? Or never go outside, or don't get on dating apps, and then a husband is just going to poof and appear on their porch. And that's not practical or realistic for anybody. But specifically for you, someone who is going to be a little bit more stringent than the quote unquote average woman, that means you're going to have to be more steadfast. That means that you're going to have to be on your dating app or apps. I recommend no more than 2 every single day swiping. Every single day swiping, right? That means that you're going to be having to go out socially. And my recommendation during the cold months, depending on where you live, that's going to be every other week or every other weekend, right? One day out of the weekend, or that's going to be every week when the weather is better. You're going to have to put yourself out there more. You're going to have to put out more effort. This is a numbers game. You need to be engaging. You need to be socializing with more people, so that you have access to a larger pool. So then when you put your limitations on it, which is, I don't want children and I don't want to date anyone who has children and who will never want them if they want me, right? Then that means you're going to have to be more steadfast. You're going to have to be more efficient in your efforts to expand your pool, so that when you lower and diminish that pool, it's still a reasonable thing. Does that make sense? That's an excellent question. Can a tomboy balance both sides, dress up and dress down, and still find true love that will accept both sides? Absolutely. There are plenty of women who don't wear heels. There are plenty of women who don't wear makeup. There are plenty of women who don't exude this idea of shallow feminism, is what I call it, right? Like the shoes, the pink, the French nails, the makeup, the blah, blah, blah. And they're perfectly fine in their dating process. Again, I would definitely make sure that you present honestly, right? So very similar to the woman who asked her question earlier, you're going to present what you want. You're going to present who you are early. If you're on a dating app, I would highly recommend that out of your 6 photos that you should post, and everyone should be on dating apps. Everyone should be going outside either every other week or every weekend. Your 6 photos, you should have 3 of them dressed in your tomboy look, and 3 of them in your more feminine look. You want to present a true representation of who you are. You don't want anyone to ever be let down or upset or annoyed or frustrated because you presented one way, and then when they start dating you, they get a different version. That's not fair to them. And we wouldn't want that either, right? So that would be my recommendation. You absolutely can find love being a 50-50. You can find love as a tomboy 100%, right? Definitely make sure that you are presenting the authentic version of you, okay? My boyfriend asked me to put a business in my name. I was hesitant and asked him some questions. He didn't answer my questions and went to another woman he knows. What does this mean for us? My boyfriend asked to put a business in his name. I was hesitant and asked him some questions. He didn't answer my questions and went to another woman he knows. What does this mean for us? Okay, so let's talk about it. Number 1, if you are putting your name on anything for anybody, you have absolutely a right to ask questions. This is a risk. I would like to know what his opinions are about prenups. I would like to imagine that a lot of guys talk about prenups as something that something that someone should do who has the salary, who has the position, who has the whatever in order to protect themselves in case of marriage. So if he's a proponent of a prenup and understands the ideology of a married person protecting themselves, then if he doesn't understand and appreciate why you would want to ask questions to get clarity so you can have some level of security in your decision with a boyfriend, that means that he's an unreasonable man. And I want you to have a conversation with yourself about whether or not you're willing to date someone who, to me, is seemingly unreasonable, or be with someone who is seemingly unreasonable, right? Number two, when he doesn't get his way, he reaches out to other women. Are those other women blood relatives? Is this other woman a blood relative? If this other woman is a blood relative, I wouldn't be offended, because if it's going to your aunt, it's like going to your uncle. Going to your sister's like going to your brother. If this is another woman outside of his blood relatives, right, or like grew up cousin, right, then my concern is, so anytime you don't get what you want from me, you're going to seek it out of another woman. That would be extremely concerning to me. So as a result, I would need some clarity, if I were you, around what this means for him, right? What does this mean for him? Number one, does he not understand the logic behind being careful when combining your assets with a partner, especially one who's not a husband, right? I'm sure he understands why Kobe Bryant has his wife sign a prenup. I'm sure he understands why Jeezy had Jeannie Mai sign a prenup. But yet when it comes to you just asking questions, no documentation, no legal obligation, just asking questions about combining your finances, now he's gone blind and he don't understand why somebody would want to know what the next steps are. What's the business plan that I'm attaching myself to a man who's not my husband? So to me, that seems like someone who's unreasonable and illogical and only wants things done his way when it's on his time. And so that would be problematic for me in terms of our next steps. And then secondly, the fact that he's reaching out to another woman when he doesn't get his way with you. So what does that mean? If you don't want to sleep with him, then he's going to go to another woman and get his stuff done? That would be concerning for me as well. Okay. Hi, Alison. I'm going to a mixer for Christian singles next week. How do I nicely tell a guy I'm not interested if he's not my type physically? Or if I find I'm not interested as the conversation progresses. Hi, Alison. I'm going to a mixer for Christians next week. How do I nicely tell a guy I'm not interested if he's not my type physically, or if I find that I'm not interested as the conversation progresses? Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to wrap up that conversation live and in color, right? So you're engaging in conversation. He's boring. He's awkward. His breath stinks, whatever it is that you're not feeling, right? That you're not liking, that you're not attached to. So what you're going to do is that your next opportunity to exit stage, right, in terms of the conversation, you'll do that. So he's talking about his dog. He's talking about his job. And this goes for anybody, man or woman. They're talking to say, oh, I'm so happy that you were able to get that promotion. Oh, I'm so glad that your dog was able to get that surgery. It was a pleasure to meet you. Perhaps I'll see you around. That kind of level of ambiguity, that's the word, allows someone to be dismissed without being disrespectful. But relatively speaking, the average person is going to pick up what you put down, which is, I'm not interested in this conversation, right? Perhaps I'll see you around, right? Get your drink, turn around, and walk away. So you're going to wrap up whatever you're discussing and say, I'm so glad that, or I'm thankful for, or lucky you, or whatever it is to wrap up the convo, and then say and transition, and you're going to walk away and you're going to say, it was a pleasure to connect with you. It was a pleasure to meet you. Perhaps I'll see you around. Turn around and walk away. It's a mixer. The purpose is that you're engaging with multiple people. Okay. Folks, don't be afraid. Go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. I have about 4 more minutes before I do have to jump off. I do have to get started with my Partner You Deserve 6-month coaching program cohort. And so I do have a few minutes, but in the meantime, in between time, as I take my final question, please, if you need any additional support, if you need any guidance, you can go ahead and go to alignwithallison.com and you can schedule either a 30-minute session so that we could speak a little bit more in depth about your very particular problem and your very particular circumstances, so I can give you specific feedback on how you need to deal with blank. And or if you are interested in joining me in my 6-month coaching program, The Partner You Deserve, which exclusively works with busy professional women to help them be found by the partner that they deserve, to teach them how to navigate dating successfully, teach them how to build healthy relationships so that they can get into the healthy, desirable relationships that lead to marriage and more, then you're going to go ahead and go to alignwithallison.com and you're going to schedule a 15-minute consult so that I can see if you're a good fit for the program and get you started as soon as next week. Our final question for the evening, and then I do have to get with my group folks. Should you tell your new partner you cheated in the past? That is a good question. That is a good question. And as a godly woman and as a Christian woman, I am going to give you an unchristian response. And the answer is no. You are not a cheater now, I presume. And that is only going to plant the seed of distrust, of mistrust. And so I would not tell. What you're going to do moving forward is you're not going to cheat no more, right? You're going to be forthcoming. You're going to be honest. Whatever concerns you have, whatever issues that may be pushing you away, you're going to be upfront about it. You're going to engage in conversation that's meaningful. You're going to not cheat again. But to say it, to mention it, especially, this is sexist, but it is what it is, where men are notorious for being cheaters, where women are not. Even if statistically it's the same, that's not what we're notorious for, right? We're not the ones that are pushing a message that says, well, men are animals and we can't control ourselves. It's not our fault, right? Like we haven't created that movement. Our movement is we don't do it. Whether or not we do is a different story. And so the level of judgment and shame attached to being a woman who's a cheater is not the same like it is for men. As a result, you don't want once a cheater, always a cheater attached to you. Keep your mouth shut and don't do the action. Keep your mouth shut and just don't do the action. All right, beautiful people. Thank you for everyone who participated. I hope that this has been beneficial for you. If you need more support, what you're going to do is go to alignwithallison.com. You can book a 30-minute session so that you can tell me all of the very specific details around your concerns, and I can give you actionable next steps so that you can win in life and win in love. If you're interested in working with me as your dating coach, you are a busy professional woman and you are struggling with getting in the dating scene. You are struggling with navigating dating successfully, getting on dates, knowing which apps are the right ones for you, actually meeting like-minded men who want the same things as you. You're having a hard time transitioning dating into a committed relationship. You're in that committed relationship and you really can't figure out how to get to the next step of a healthy, happy marriage. Then the Partner You Deserve coaching program is the right fit for you. Alignwithallison.com. You book a 15-minute consultation and I will assess whether or not you're a good fit for the program and get you enrolled as early as next week. All right, folks, I have to run. I have to get into my coaching program with my Wednesday cohort. It has been a pleasure. Please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure you share this with anyone who you think could benefit. And again, I'll be back on Monday for my Monday marriage training. Every Monday, I do my Marriage Mondays trainings, and on Wednesdays, I do my live Q&A. So